Hello, this is a continuation of our class time together on lesson 2.11. Let's do the do together section, and you can pause the video, write out what you think, and then check the video for solutions. And I'll be going through the do together section and some of the exercise questions. We're going to start with number 1, which is 2 times 3 squared. BEDMAS tells us we must do the exponent before multiplication. So 3 squared is 3 times 3, which is 9. And then 2 times 9 is 18. This is different than number 2, where we have 2 times 3 all in brackets, and all of that is going to be squared. We need to solve the brackets first. So 2 times 3 is 6, and 6 squared is 6 times 6, which is equal to 36. Number 3, it doesn't look so great. We've got this fraction 81 over 9, and we're multiplying to 5 and adding 1. So we're going to have to do the multiplication first. Now 5 over 1 times 81 over 9. Without a calculator, that's some pretty big numbers. What we can notice though is 81 over 9 can be reduced first before we go to multiply. So 81 divided by 9 is 9 over 1, which is equal to 9. So we can actually get rid of this fraction right off the bat and multiply 5 times 9 and then add 1. Now if you didn't see that and you multiplied 5 times 81 over 9, you would get down to 9 after reducing. So I'm going to multiply 5 times 9 first, which is 45, and then add 1. So the answer here is 46. Number 4, we have 2 times 4 plus 1 squared. So we're going to do the exponent first. 1 squared is 1 times 1, which is just equal to 1. I'm going to write everything else down step by step so that I can see what I need to do next. I have multiplication and adding, so I will multiply first. 2 times 4 is 8, and then I will add 1, so my answer is 9. Number 5, we have 2 times 4 plus 1 all in brackets squared. Again, we want to solve everything in brackets before we worry about the exponent. In the brackets, we have multiplication and adding, so we need to multiply first. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9, and then we can square that. 9 squared is just 9 times 9, and 9 times 9 is 81. Number 6, we have that fraction again, that 81 over 9. We've already determined that 81 divided by 9 is 9, so we can change this to become 9 right away. We have 1 plus 5 in brackets times 9. We're going to solve the brackets first. 1 plus 5 is 6, times 9 is equal to 54. For number 7, we have a lot going on. Let's focus on what BEDMAS tells us. BEDMAS tells us we must do brackets first. Okay, absolute value we don't have here, so we go to brackets. We've got squared off brackets with inside rounded brackets. Let's focus on those inside rounded brackets. 3 plus 2 is the operation here. This negative 7 is just a sign being held by brackets, so we don't have to do anything with that. We're going to start with adding 3 plus 2 is 5. Notice that this 2 just outside, that means multiplication. So I'm going to write everything down. This negative 7 is just negative 7. Now I can see that I have negative 7 plus 2 times 5. I must multiply first. 2 times 5 is 10, plus negative 7. Now I can solve and clear my brackets. Negative 7 plus 10 results in a positive 3. Remember, I have more positives than negatives. I have 3 more positives than negatives. So that is clearing the brackets, but you can see over here, this -1 is hanging outside the bracket. There's no sign in between. When a number is touching the brackets like this, it means multiplication. So this is going to be -1 times 3 minus 5 squared. We've done the brackets. Next up is our exponents. We are going to do 5 squared. This is positive 5, so it's just 5 times 5, which is 25. We copy the subtraction, 3, and then the -1. Now we have -1 times 3 minus 25. We're going to do multiplication. -1 times 3 is -3 minus 25. This looks like a chance for us to add the opposite. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to add the opposite, showing myself that I am taking -3 plus a -25. Both of these are negatives that I'm adding together. So all I've got is negatives. All my answer is going to be is negatives. 3 plus 25 is 28. My answer here is -28. Number 8, I have 12 plus 5 minus 1 in brackets times 3 squared minus 8 divided by the square root of 4. Okay, BEDMAS tells us brackets first. So I'm going to focus on what I have in brackets. 5 minus 1 is 4. And I'm writing everything else down. Now I can see after brackets, exponents and square roots come next. So I'm going to solve the exponent, 3 squared, and the square root here of 4. 3 squared is 3 times 3, that's equal to 9. The square root of 4 means what times itself makes 4? The answer there is 2, and I write everything else down. Now I have adding, multiplying, subtraction, and division. I have to divide and multiply before I can add and subtract. And when I have both division and multiplication, I must work left to right. So I'm going to look at this one first, 4 times 9. And I've got a subtraction that separates that from the 8 divided by 2, so I can actually do them both at the same time. So 4 times 9 is 36, and 8 divided by 2 is 4. And I'm going to write down the subtraction and the adding of the 12. Now I have addition and subtraction. When I have them both, I'm going to work left to right. So I will add 12 plus 36 and then subtract the 4. 12 plus 36 is 48. Minus 4 is equal to 44. Now I will show the solutions to some select exercise questions. Again, you can pause the video, try them on your own, and then check the solutions if you wish. So I'm going to start with number 1. Number 1, we have 6 times 25 square root of minus 4 times the square root of 16. So I know with BEDMAS that exponents and square roots come before any of the other operations. So I'm going to solve the square root of 25, which is 5, and the square root of 16, which is 4. And then I'm going to write everything else down the way that I see it above. Now I have 6 times 5 minus 4 times 4. I'm going to multiply before I subtract. So I can multiply. 6 times 5 is 30. And 4 times 4 is 16. And I can subtract now. 30 minus 16 is equal to 14. I'd like to go ahead to question number 4 now. we have negative 17 plus 8 times the square root of 9 minus brackets 11 minus 5 all squared. BEDMAS tells us that we're going to do the brackets first. 11 minus 5 goes first, and that equals 6, and that's going to be 6 squared, and I will write everything else down. After brackets comes exponents and square roots, so I do have exponent and square root. I'm going to do both of these at once. 6 squared is 36. That's 6 times 6, so that's 36. And the square root of 9 is 3. So I'm going to write my subtraction. Now this 8 here is multiplied to 3, so I'm going to add that symbol in, because you notice the 8 is touching the square root of 9 with no symbol between. This means multiplication. Now I have negative 17 plus 8 times 3 minus 36. BEDMAS tells me I must multiply before adding and subtracting, so I'm going to do that next. 8 times 3 is 24, plus a negative 17 minus 36. At this point, you may want to add the opposite because you have 3 numbers, but you don't have to. You could go left to right because you have adding and subtracting. So there's a couple ways to go about this, but I want to show what adding the opposite does here. It lets us see very clearly that we have negatives. 2 numbers are negatives, and it changes everything to adding, which means now we can go in any order we want. So I'm going to take this negative 17 and I'm going to add that to the negative 36 to get myself a negative answer. And when I combine both of those, I get negative 53. And then I can take the positive number and add that on. I see here I have more negatives than positives, so my answer will be negative. And how many more requires subtraction? So I'm going to subtract here, getting an answer of 29. So I have negative 29 as the result of negative 53 plus positive 24. Number 6, we have 4 times 3 squared plus 7 times 3 plus 9 in brackets minus a negative 6. So I'm going to focus on the brackets first. So I'm going to do 3 plus 9, and I'm also going to solve what's in brackets here, which is 3 squared. 3 plus 9 is 12, and 3 squared means 3 times 3, which is 9. So now I'm going to rewrite, and notice that the places where there's no spaces, that means multiplication. You can rewrite with brackets or with your multiplication symbol or a raised dot, whatever you feel most comfortable with. Notice that I'm also removing the bracket around the negative 6, and at this point, if you would like to, or even before, you can add the opposite to change that into adding. Now I have 4 times 9 plus 7 times 12 plus 6. So I'm going to do the multiplication for both of these and see where I end up, and then copy the rest down. So 4 times 9 is 36. 7 times 12 is 84. And now I can copy down plus, plus, and that was a positive 6, so I'm just going to remove that plus sign in front of the 6. Now I have all positive integers that I can add together, and I can add them in any order. So I'm going to take 84 plus 6, which is 90, and then add the 36. So my answer will be 126.